Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bowl TV and the Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro. Looking forward to another great show today on this Throwback Thursday. We're going to throw it back just a couple years to the 2017 USBC Open Championships in Las Vegas. We've got two champions lined up for you today. We'll have some great perspectives on the event and two winners from different divisions this time for the first time. But first, let me welcome in my co-host for today's show, Daniel Ferris.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
Great. Welcome back. And we've got a fun one today, I think. Two terrific stories. So far, we've talked to some amazing Hall of Famers and title winners, men and women, long-timers, newcomers, the whole gambit. But today, we're going to touch base with some bowlers from our other divisions, the standard division, which is the middle folks at the event, and then the classified division, which is our lowest average base division. And it's going to be a lot of fun, some terrific memories here. And we're going to just go ahead and get right to it. Unless you have any thoughts or any questions or any insight before we bring in the first of our two guests. And I know that you've kind of heard these stories in passing and only recently just talked to these gentlemen for the first time. But again, the stories and the people, the best part of what we do and all the times we get to sit down and hear the story behind the story is even better. Some often appropriate for publication, some not. But getting to know the people as people is pretty awesome. And I think you're going to like these two guys quite a bit. I know I do, and glad to have them on the show. Let's welcome in first Dwayne Brossett from Louisiana. And wow, Dwayne, welcome. How are you today, sir?
Hey, Matt. Hey, Daniel. Thank you for having me on your show.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I know you weren't sure at first what to expect, and I know you're a modest and humble guy, and you don't think perhaps that your story is as great as we do. But we're going to tell it, and we really appreciate your dedication now to the Open Championships. We're gonna look back at your very short history here in just a minute. But right now, tell us, how are things in Louisiana? You're right next door to me. I'm over here in Texas, Daniel, up in Kentucky. But what are things like in your neck of the woods? We've been that way twice in recent years, bowled in Baton Rouge a couple times. But how are things where you are, and what's life like for you here in 2020?
Well, we're all doing good. We're surviving the coronavirus thing. The bowling has not started back yet, but I think we should start back, pretty quickly. Other than that, it's starting to get warm, but other than that, everything is kind of slow and getting back to normal.
All right. Now, for you personally, and now I know your tournament debut came in 2017, and you already were 61 years old at the time. So obviously just a few years ago now. But as far as day-to-day life and work and things, what do you have going on, and what are you able to do from home, or have you been out and about these last few months?
Well, I've been still doing a little bit of work. As you remember, I have a carpet cleaning company. We go and do professional carpet cleaning, water restoration type work. And we've been going out and doing emergency type as far as water extracting and stuff like that. We're just now starting to get back doing carpet cleaning the way we used to. People are starting to let us back into their homes. And as far as I don't know if you remember, last time we talked, I had taken on a part-time job as an assistant softball coach. And of course, that all got shut down. I think it was 13th or 15th of March, we had to stop playing.
All right. So of course you're staying busy, which is great. And then bowling wise, the timing, as unfortunate as it is in the world and things are crazy, timing wise for your bowling career, it couldn't have worked out any better, right? You had just you said you had an injury and you had lined up a sub for your league. And with the timing of it, the sub didn't have to bowl a whole lot, so you didn't miss very much of your own competition.
He bowled once at my expense.
And
and what you're referring to, I experienced a broken arm. It was the Wednesday before we stopped playing softball. We were practicing, and I was doing what we call soft toss. And one of the young ladies, she hit the ball just right. And whatever I did wrong to her, she got me back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think the carpet cleaning business was that dangerous, so that makes a little bit more sense. But hopefully you're healed up and getting ready for bowling to resume. We'll talk again about your plans for 2020 and 21.
Okay.
But as far as the bowling, I know you've been at it for a few years now, just in general, kind of working your way up to Open Championships competition, and just tell us about your bowling background a little bit and your league participation and kind of where you focus your bowling throughout the year outside of the Open Championships.
Okay. Well, I started bowling back in the mid 70s at Northwestern State University. That's the college where I was attending at the time. There was a PE class and they offered bowling, and I took bowling. We had a little lane, a little place down what was called the Student Union, and there was like 6 lanes in there. And so that's the first of my bowling experience. After that, in the mid to late 80s, my wife and I joined the league, and we probably bowled 2 or 3 years. And then our oldest daughter, Randall, was born. And so when the twins were born 18 months later, we decided that we may need to take some time off from bowling. So we did. And we had to, work our lives through our daughters after that. Oh, yes. And Randall is a daughter. Okay.
All right. Well, fair enough. And certainly admirable to put the family first and take care of business there. But then eventually you got the chance, you got the invitation to come join us at the Open Championships in 2017. Again, at 61 years old, and having been in Louisiana for as many days as we have in the last few years, couldn't be much friendlier than any place that I've ever been. Why did it take so long for them to talk you into joining us on the tournament lanes?
Well, about 5 or 6 years before that, I would say probably 2012, my wife got back into bowling. And being competitive as I am, I let her bowl a half a year, and then I started bowling again. And so then we bowled probably 4 or 5 years, and they were telling me already they would go to the national tournament. And I don't know if you remember Aaron Dillasard. He's the one who arranges everything for us through y'all for us to go to the tournament. I want to mention Aaron's name because he deserves a lot of thanks for doing what he does for us. But anyway, they would come back and tell me stories. And so I finally said, well, let me know when y'all go. And so when they started getting ready for 2017, they came up to me and they offered me a chance to go, and I accepted it. And my wife and I, we decided we were going to make a vacation out of it. Mm-hmm. And we went to the resort. Offhand, I can't remember the name of the resort in Las Vegas, but we went there. And of course, as you know, the rest, as they say, is kind of history.
What was it about the stories they told you about the Open Championships that made you decide to want to go? Was it talking about the venues they bowled in, or the stories off the lanes, or what it was like to compete in that type of environment? What was it that made you say, absolutely, I want to go do this?
That's a good question. Aaron is our probably number 2 bowler in our league. He would come back and tell these stories. He and his father would go. But what really got me excited, he had come back, and it wasn't the national tournament that I bowled in, but he had gotten a chance to bowl with one of the professional bowlers, and he started talking about how much fun it was. And then, of course, that with them talking about the national tournament, of course, they go to state tournaments and stuff like that. They talk about how awesome they are, about the competition. And I just wanted to experience. I just wanted to see. And yes, I am, to use Matt's word, humble and a little bit shy, but I like big stages. You know, I like the adrenaline and I like the competition. And so I decided that I wanted to do it. And of course, my wife always agrees with me. Jenny always agrees with me. So we went.
Well, certainly the stage doesn't get much bigger than the Open Championships when it comes to bowling, and the competition doesn't get much tougher than bowling against over 50,000 of your closest bowling friends over the course of 4.5 months at the OC. Your first time out there, going to Las Vegas, Las Vegas can be a bit of an intimidating city if you just put the bowling aside and look at the trip itself. What were your goals for this trip?
Okay. Could you repeat the last question? The question
as far as
the last
going out
thing that you said.
Yeah, as far as going out and bowling the Open Championships for the first time, what were your goals set on the lanes?
Okay. Well, I think Matt asked something similar to that last year in Syracuse, and I really didn't have an answer for it, but I'm going to try to answer it anyway.
Okay.
My only goal was to really try to perform well, and I didn't have any really real expectations. I just, took in everything, and of course, that would kind of make your hands sweat right there. But as I started bowling, I was just trying to do what was suggested to me by some of the local pro vendors there. And of course, I just kept telling myself, as I was talking to Jenny the other night, I kept telling myself, hit board 7. So I was trying to hit that mark.
It sounds like you kept it pretty simple, which is great. Didn't overthink it. But I know talking to you at that point, also you did the right thing and you went in ahead of time. You didn't just walk in when it was time to bowl, but you went and you checked out the venue, you looked at the event, the competition, certainly all the intimidating factors that come with the Open Championships, at least some of them, you're able to get a little bit more comfortable in that setting and kind of see how it works. I mean, there's nothing that's ever going to replicate walking out to the lanes and hearing the national anthem and getting ready to bowl for the first time. But as far as going in ahead of time and checking things out and just walking up that escalator for the very first time, talk about the feelings as you rounded the corner, you passed the booths, you saw all the equipment and everything, the leaderboard right there. And then there it is, 60 lanes, 30 on each side at the South Point Bowling Plaza. I imagine a little bit different than your 26 lane center back home and, the big ceilings and the bright lights and just talk about that moment for us.
Well, like you said, the first thing, we were just overwhelmed with the resort itself. I mean, you don't have to leave. You didn't have to leave that place. It had, a dozen restaurants. It had another bowling alley in it already. It had a movie theater, and we're not even talking about the slots and stuff. So it was, and then entertainment. It was just overwhelming. Just walking into a place like that for me. But and then, like you said, going into the bowling area, all the lanes, that was just remarkable. Being able just to see that, let alone get a chance to participate and bowl on those lanes. And like you said, we went earlier enough I had a friend with us, Stanley Flanagan. He took me over to one of the vendors, and we decided that we were going to have our balls cleaned and stuff like that. So we had our bowling balls. I can't remember the little machine that they put them in, but to get the oil and stuff out of them. And then we went and we talked to the guy there that was doing the work. And he was an old timer, and I can't remember his name, but it seemed like he had won it before. And so he gave us some advice as to, try what mark to try to find and what mark to play and stuff like that. And then we later went to the other bowling alley and practiced a little bit. Luckily we did, because my first ball there was in the gutter, but that's okay. And then after that, I just tried to relax and get ready for that moment. But then when you step on that floor and you walk out there with that national anthem playing, and it's remarkable.
Now, coming from an athletic background, and you mentioned the competitiveness and the big stage and all the things that go into what the Open Championships really is about. I know that you certainly had an appreciation for the competitive aspect of the event and the prestige and the history, and you just you probably feel that walking into the venue, and I'm sure it sounds like your teammates had you prepared as far as what to expect from the experience, at least a little bit, knowing that the conditions were going to be a little bit more challenging than what you've seen at home. And then you got to it, you were focused, you kept it simple, and then you found your way onto our radar. You were just there, as you said, just trying to be competitive, have a good time. You guys, the group had a couple of beers, relaxed, just enjoying the experience of being there together. And then your situation was that you were making a run in the singles event. So they brought that to my attention, and I was ready to watch some scores. And of course, part of what we do then is in the classified division, certainly, is check on your previous events. So team event, doubles, how did you do? Is there any all events implications here? All this happened. You had no idea. We found out later. You were just bowling, having a good time. Strikes were adding up, which is perfect. They're not overthinking it. Not too much to get in the way of what you're doing. So you leave the rest to us, and we handle it. And so I get there, and singles is over. You came up just short of the lead in the singles event, and one of your teammates got to me first. And I like this part of the story because he stopped me and he saw me. I was the guy in the tie walking with the radio and the clipboard. So he wanted to share some feedback with me just about the event in general and his feelings. And we appreciate all the thoughts, and his performance wasn't quite as memorable, I don't think, in the same regard as yours, but he let me know some thoughts about the event in general, and I thanked him, and I said, well, I'm going to talk to your teammate here, your friend Dwayne, who might feel a little bit differently as he has just taken the lead and classified all events. So he will be on top of the leaderboard. And then that's when we met for the very first time. And I don't want to say that you were afraid in that moment, but certainly I had no idea why this guy in a tie with the clipboard and the camera was coming after you. Can you just tell us about that initial interaction when you guys saw me coming, and first you didn't even believe me?
Well, I'm going to start by explaining to you that story has gotten bigger and bigger over the last 3 years, okay? That fish is now this big. But whenever you walked up, I said, man, this guy looks important. I said, what have I done? And so you walk up to me, and I'll tell you, it's really hard for me to really express the feelings, okay? But you walked up to me, and said, Mr. Brossett, what if I told you that you had just moved into the lead for the overall championship? And I didn't know what to say. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't know what to say. And I can't even remember what I said, but you went on because you didn't want me to stand there too long. Anyway, you went on and you said, what if I told you that next year when you come back, your name could be up there on that, on one of those big banners with the score and and well, like you love pointing out, I kind of got teared-eyed, And so I think, if I remember correctly, I asked if you would give me a moment, and because I wanted to go wash my hands, okay? But I splashed a little water on my face too while I was there. But it was an emotional time. It was very emotional.
Well, and that, of course, is part of what makes it so great for me to be able to share that story and relive it, and really not embellish it all that much. I mean, it was that memorable of a moment for me, because you really you didn't know, but like as we talked and as it started to click, you really could see that appreciation growing for what you had just accomplished, and being it was only your first time at the event, certainly understandable not to be completely understanding of the process or the divisions or some of the different things that happen at the tournament. So we talked about what the all events was all about and what it meant, and the banner certainly was a great illustration. And so we turned around and we looked at it, and the winning score the previous year was pretty close to what you had just posted, and your number was well ahead, in that category with just a few days left in the event. We were just about a week away. Yeah. But I think because again, being the athlete that you are and the coach, and it's, I guess the championship banner is kind of a universal thing. So to look up and see a 20-foot banner in the rafters and then realize that person has beaten every single person in that category to earn that title and that space over the lanes, that is when it clicked for you. And it's almost as if we heard it at that moment. And then that's when, the emotions came, and emotions for me as well, to be able to be the one to share that news on what that could mean. And then it was already in July. So we were very, very close to the end of the event. But as you mentioned, your wife was there, your teammates, and as the news kind of spread a little bit and everybody was clear on what had happened, because it can, for all events, it doesn't say on the scoreboard. There's not a number that tells you, what the situation is. So as we talked about it with the group and started the interview and we did everything, and I walked away, what was the conversation like? What were the feelings like for yourself and within the group, knowing now that there'd be some serious scoreboard watching going over the next week?
Well, I tried to share it with everybody, and everybody was very receptive. We went to eat and stuff like that, but they enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm happy to say that they were pleased for me, and they were part of it. And of course, I don't think we even had a chance to get to dinner that evening. And there's a website here called Natchitoches Parish Journal, and somebody had already called them and had sent them a little article, and I was a town hero for a few moments. But it was enjoyed by all of them, and they were happy for me. And as far as the week goes, I didn't have to check the internet one time. I didn't have to check, because every day somebody was letting me know, nobody's passed you yet. You're still in lead. So,
all right. So, well, that means if you saw them in the paper, that means that we did our jobs, which is great, and very proud to share that story. And I'm glad that you got the recognition that you deserved. And as it got closer to that final day, did it start to build up a little bit more, maybe the excitement and the understanding, and just, again, one of the most humble guys and appreciative guys I know, as you awaited that phone call and then it finally came, more emotions, I'm sure.
Well, to be honest with you, Matt, the phone call came, and I was at Mass that Sunday when it came, and so I kind of missed the call. So they had to call me back later at another time, and we talked about it. But it was very exciting. And of course, before I even got the phone call, I had already had some of my buddies let me know that, hey, it's over and nobody's passed you. So they were keeping up with it for me, I promise.
All right. Well, what an experience. And that's just really part of it. You take the lead, you wait it out, you get the call, and then the preparation for next year, no doubt. I think that the best way to make sure that a first-timer becomes a second-timer is by winning, for sure. If there's any question that you'd be coming back, just talk about the month that followed the phone call and the Eagle presentation and the celebrity status that I'm sure when you were in your bowling leagues and local events.
Well, as you know, I'm a member of Country Lane Bowling Center, bowling a couple of their leagues there. And I think it was the Monday Night League. Mr. Campbell, I believe was his name, from Baton Rouge. He had emailed Ken Newhouser. Ken, a very good friend of mine, is the owner of Country Lanes. But Ken didn't share it with anybody for some reason. And I was a little bit late that evening, but I got there just before it was time to practice. Well, I walk over to my lane, and I mentioned my buddy Stanley a while ago. Stanley says, "Here, give me your phone. They need you up there. They got something for you up there. Give me your phone." And I didn't know what he was talking about. He's always doing something. So I gave him my phone, and I started walking up towards the front. And Mr. Campbell was there. And Mr. Campbell, he made a very nice announcement, presentation. And he told him a little bit about what the Eagle was, and he presented it to me, congratulated me. We took pictures, and there was a nice little article in the Natchitoches Times, a local newspaper here, that told about it.
All right, so to finally hold it and to have it and own it, and take it home and be able to remember that day, what does that mean now to be in your first year, a part of tournament history, something that they can never take away?
Well, now it means a whole lot to me. I did not realize how prestigious one of these awards were. That it started in the early 1900s and had been going on, for a long time. And then when I found all that out, and to realize that I have one sitting here right behind me, it's just a feeling that it's a good feeling. I wish everybody could win one, but then it's just fantastic.
All right. Now, of course, with winning comes quite a bit of fanfare when you return to the event the following year. You got to walk in to the On Center there in Syracuse, and you got to see your name on a banner as well. Again, that was the moment the year before that really clicked for you. How did it feel walking in and seeing your name and knowing that you were just about getting ready to get introduced as a champion for the first time? There's a championship watch presentation. I'm not sure that you knew that was coming either. There's a photo of that. But 2018 had to be pretty special as well, coming in and seeing your name and face all over the venue.
Yeah, that was really, how do I say this? It was hard for me to cope with all this attention. Yes, I knew that the watch was going to be presented, and of course, they had mentioned to me that they were going to announce the winners, past winners, and that we were to walk out. But it just, I was proud. I'll be honest with you, I was proud. I was happy for the people who were there to share it with me. The people in the stands who were there, wives and stuff of the other bowlers, and they were there sharing it with us. And I was glad to be able to do this for not only myself, but them, the bowling alley, Natchitoches. It was fun. It was fun. I'll be honest. It was fun.
All right. Just also, I guess the big misconception with the Open Championships too is that it's for the elite players, the top tier. A lot of people don't go or haven't gone because they think they can't compete. It's too challenging. But we do have the 3 average-based divisions now, and bowling in the classified division at the time, it was for bowlers with averages of 180 or below. That would be a league average on a house shot, and you fit in there. But coming in, knowing that your league average was in the 150s, 160s, did at any point, I guess, did you consider that you would be the man in the spotlight, getting these awards and being a champion, having an eagle, and was that explained to you prior to going? That absolutely you can compete. There is a place for you at this event, regardless of what your average is.
No, it really wasn't explained to me, but I knew that it was 180 or below, and I knew that it was not handicap, no handicap. But I went there to have fun. And whenever you start bowling 200s, you're having fun. It's fun. And so I just wanted to at least bowl 1 200 game. And I did that the first night. And then I said, well, I guess I need to try to bowl a second one, and then I had the 500 series, which, was really my first 500 series. I think I had like one in the 570s or something like that. And so I said, well, just keep doing what you're doing, Dwayne. That's what I told myself. And then when I got to 600, I was happy that I bowled a 600. That was my first 600 series. And so then when, Matt walks up to me and says, hey, what if? I said, okay, this is fun. Anyway,
well,
that's pretty much what I was doing.
You come back 2018, you've got the watch presentation out on the lanes. You said you kind of knew that was coming, but directly following that watch presentation, you've got to get right back into bowling, right into team bowling. Your numbers in 2018 weren't as high as they were in 2017. It was a little bit closer to what your league average is. But explain what it was like going from the pomp and circumstance of being announced as a defending champion and a champion at the lanes and getting the watch, and then almost immediately the lights come on and you've got to go out and compete. You said that in Vegas it was about having fun. Were you trying to attack it a little more seriously in Syracuse because of the championship the previous year, or were you still trying to have fun?
Well, I was still trying to have fun, but at the same time, I was there more for a purpose. And of course, one of them being the presentation and the announcement. I think Matt and I talked for a little bit the day before. And to be frank with you, when I walked on that lane after everything, especially after they announced and I walked out to the lane and then came back out, I could not get the ball on my hand and get it back off again. My hands were just almost dripping wet. I mean, they were perspiring. And so I literally had to put my thumb halfway into the ball so that I could get it out and start bowling. Not an excuse. Now I have more empathy for those guys who do this every week, every month, and it's just living. I now have a greater respect because I know now a little bit about how hard it is to do this week in and week out. That's not an excuse. My joke is, what you do in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I tell everybody my joke was my bowling stayed in Vegas.
Well, setting the bowling aside in Syracuse, not looking at the numbers, but looking at the experience as a whole, the trip itself, coming back as the champion, all the ceremonies you went through. What was the experience like coming back as a champion?
It was fun. My biggest problem was the expectation. The wanting to be able to repeat, wanting to do it again. And let's face it, I'm not, I'm a 150, 160 average bowler. And this type of bowling, when you're that close to, an at 200 average over 9 games, that's really hard for a person who bowls maybe once or twice a week to maintain. But however, it was fun. I enjoyed every minute. I enjoyed seeing my face out there on that picture by the bowling, by the pins down there. I enjoyed taking the pictures and sending them to my daughters and saying, hey, look, I enjoyed the banner. I enjoyed the whole experience. Okay. And hopefully it won't be a once in a lifetime, but if it is, like everybody keeps telling me, I had that one.
Well, you returned to Las Vegas last year, where you captured lightning in a bottle the year before. And by the way, let me tell you, the year, in Vegas in 17, you shot 1745, right around a 194, 195 average. I've got a lot of friends here in the Kentucky area that average 220 in league that would love to shoot 1745 at the Open Championships. But you come back to Las Vegas for a second. You come back to Las Vegas for a second time last year. What was it like returning back to the same city, the same venue where you captured that title just 2 years previous?
Well, nobody remembered me. So except for Matt. Matt's the only one that remembered me. So I was back to normal pretty much. But it was nice. It was almost like going to a place that you knew. And of course, Jenny didn't get to go with me the last time last year. So I was kind of by myself, but it was fun. I hung out with the guys, and then we bowled, and it was good. It was good.
Well, sir, I'm always gonna love telling this story, and who knows how it might grow in the next 20 years or so. We're certainly glad to have you as part of our tournament history as well. Hopefully, you're now sold on the Open Championships a little bit, and we'll see you from year to year. I know we're not going to see you in 2020. You said you guys have postponed. You're gonna hold on until 2021 back at South Point in Las Vegas. I'll look forward to seeing you and your wife and all your teammates, all of them, anytime and any year to just catch up and talk, ask questions, whatever the situation may be. Hopefully it's another situation where I'm coming down with the camera and the tripod and we're doing our thing. But man, I will forever be grateful to be a part of that day and to be there to break the news to you.
Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, Dwayne Brossett, our 2017 classified all events champion, a first timer at the time, hopefully a lifetimer now at the Open Championships. And what a great story. If you missed any of it, of course, go back, check it out. And hopefully we'll talk to Dwayne again soon. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. And now we're going to
switch gears. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Dwayne.
We're going to switch gears and move on to our standard division. And another great story from a very well-spoken champion. It was the inaugural year of the standard division that came in between regular and classified. there was a spot, I think, in the Open Championships and the surveys and the feedback that showed there was a group of bowlers in that 181 to 205 to 210 range that just felt maybe a little bit less competitive, that they weren't going to be in contention for the Eagles necessarily, maybe some prize money, but it was discouraging at times, and that meant some would come by, check us out for a couple of years, and then dip out, and some new folks would come in. So in a way to potentially retain those middle of the way bowlers who were still kind of on the up, working their way perhaps, the standard division came about, and it was something that the surveys all kind of asked for, and it happened. And one of the gentlemen who was able to enjoy that very first year of the standard division, Mr. Stuart Sheck, coming to us from North Carolina, and he was a standard doubles champion in Las Vegas in 2017. So we're going to hear about the same event, but a little bit different perspective. Sir, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Fine, thanks. Hi, Matt. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you.
Howdy, Stuart.
All right.
Doing great.
Thanks for being here. Looking forward to sharing your story as well. You were not a first-timer in 2017. In fact, you'd already put 20-plus years into the Open Championships, and you and your partner, Robert Tonelli, you guys were those guys that I just described. You love the event and the travel and the camaraderie and going out there and competing for the prize money. And if things were to fall into place for a day, making a run at the leaderboard or potentially an eagle. But can you describe some of the feelings that you had about the event, the things that made you keep coming back year after year? And then we'll talk about kind of what 2017 meant and how maybe invigorating and reevaluating the addition of that third division was for you.
Sure thing. Well, I started, a lot longer than Dwayne. I know it's his first year, and congratulations, Dwayne. I was burst bowling back when it was the ABC tournament. And let me tell you, that was such an event. The atmosphere is so different. I mean, it's big now, but it was really overwhelming to me back then, because if you remember how they set things up back in those days in the 1990s and earlier, the venue is so much larger. I remember the ball returns being so far back that you had to literally walk past them just to get up onto the lanes, and that was very intimidating. But I saw what my teammates were saying when they tried to recruit me to bowl with them, and they said, doesn't matter that we don't bowl for the prize money, we bowl for the prestige of bowling in this tournament. And that stepping in there for the first time, it was crazy. And as much experience as I have bowling, I had to say, when I got in there, I literally was nervous to bowl. And you figure, like, gosh, I haven't been like that since I was, younger. And it's an experience that I wish some people, could live.
All right, now you hail from the Maryland area, and a lifetime in Maryland. Some great bowlers coming from out that way. We've got Kelly Gaines in the chat. Wanted to say hello to you earlier. John Gaines, her husband, and Danny Weissman, of course, terrific bowler from the Baltimore area as well. So some great talent and some folks for you to, I'm sure, look up to, and some supporters of yours now as well as a champion at the OC. Your career started in '96 in Salt Lake City, and it started pretty okay, and it got progressively better, and it turned into a really, really good first year. All intimidation aside, you had a great year at the Open Championships, and is that part of what had you come back, or was it already sold the minute you walked in and saw the venue?
Well, I bowled with a lot of good friends, and I bowled league with them. I've known them for a long time, and that first year, I got sold after doing it. Plus, it gave us a chance to travel and to see different areas. It didn't take much to sell me. I mean, it was tough. It was you find out of how good you really are or not by bowling in the nationals and the Open Championships. It's an experience, and the conditions are so different. And when I experienced that, wanted to do it more and, to get better at that.
Yeah, we mentioned your doubles title in 2017 came with Robert Tonelli, who also came from the Maryland area and then retired to Las Vegas. But the way I understood it was that you guys bowled doubles together all of your career at the Open Championships. So Las Vegas was year number 22 for you. And this longtime friend, longtime doubles partner. How special is that to lock in the same partner? How did that happen? You mentioned a close group of friends, but how did it work out that you guys were able to bowl doubles together all those years?
We had a core of bowlers that we bowled with. We've had a few members change on the teams, but the core was me, Bob, and our captain, Mark Josefowicz. And we kind of had the grouping of how we do the doubles. Bob and I get along very well. And we just seem to be like similar fellows to bowl together. And so every year we just bowled, we could help each other. And he had mentioned that we had the times where a lot of times we'd bowl, we either would both stink, he'd bowl good, I'd bowl better. Doubles is really hard to get both people going. And he says, we never have it where both of us are bowling good at the same time.
Okay, now, while that was your 22nd event, that was number 41 for Bob. So you guys had been around, you experienced the tournament, the ups and downs, the cities, but here you are, kind of with a little bit of a new life, the new division. Can you tell us when you found out about that and that it was average based and that you guys would fit in? What are the thoughts there?
Well, my thoughts were a little different than some of my teammates. Everybody had a different feeling. When I first started in '96, we were in the regular division, so we've always been in the scratch division. When I heard about the standard, I was pretty excited about it. Some of my teammates were not, so we didn't think much of it. I kind of tried to set them a little bit. I said, hey, give it a try. We'll just continue doing what we do, and we'll just see what happens. And being the first year, really didn't know what to expect, since there was no baseline there.
Yeah, hearing about this new division, did it change the way that you guys approached it, knowing that, hey, we're fit into a group of people that we can potentially be more competitive with, that are closer to our average and our skill set? Did it change how you guys approached the event that first year in 2017?
I think so. It did, at least for me. I did think that, especially I'd been going through some slumps like a lot of people had, and so it was kind of so there were a lot of changes going on, and so having that division kind of took a little pressure off, but still I knew it wasn't going to be easy because bowling is so long. I know what the conditions are like out there.
So Robert lives in Las Vegas. You're on the East Coast, as you mentioned, Maryland, now North Carolina. How often did you guys communicate leading up to the event or prepare for the event, whether it was just that year or the years before it?
Well, I communicate a lot with his wife. So her and I used to work on I work at some place where she'd call me a lot, she'd email me a lot, and we'd stay in touch. And but bowling wise, we'd chat back every now and then, but pretty much nationals was our way of getting everybody together again that had moved away, that didn't stay together. So we were looking forward to the tournaments and the challenges, and also it was kind of a nice way as a little reunion every year.
Before I get to any more questions, I want to thank everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, and of course on Bowl TV. Some comments coming to us from the viewers for you, Stuart. First, Ryan Burks. Stuart, awesome man. Hope all is well. Two-time 300 shooter at the OC, Daryl Carry-On. Hey, Stuart, we bowled together in the same league at Fort Meade. Quite a talented player Daryl is in and of himself. And I think you'll recognize this name, Adriana Sheck.
Yes,
I'm guessing
I do.
That'll be your daughter checking in, and she says, hi, Daddy.
That's her.
So we get to 2017, and we asked Dwayne this same question. It was his first trip to the OC. This was your first trip to the South Point Bowling Plaza because it was the first year that the South Point Bowling Plaza was in use. What did you think of that venue when you walked, as we asked, up the elevator, down the long concourse, up another elevator to the booths, and then ultimately out into the lanes?
Yeah, I did little check in and heard some stories leading up to our time, and saying, everybody was saying, a lot of people were saying how far you had to really go to take your stuff. And yeah, it's a little different than some of the other venues. Some of the venues there were long too, but this was really long. But I didn't think much of it. Just looking forward to bowling, and to bowling with my daughter, and eventually and my friends, and seeing everybody there, because my daughter was trying to get a spot to sub out there. And I heard about the venue since Bob lives out there. They gave us updates of how the center was coming along, and so it was very exciting to know that there was going to be another venue that is permanent, like in Reno.
Had you been to the South Point facility, the property, at all before?
No, I have not. So that was my first time.
Did you all spend any time before the bowling started kind of scouting out the area, you know, whether it's the gaming floor or the restaurants or the movie theater, or were you just simply focused on the bowling?
I checked out the whole place, because since I stayed there, and I'm always curious, so I like to look around, and then we do the side events, and so I just had to take it all in, because you don't go to Vegas all the time.
Right, exactly. So once you guys got on site, your doubles partners there, your team, all your people are there. What is your all's ritual before bowling? Do you go out to dinner? Do you hit the gaming floor? Do you catch a show? Or, you know, what do you all do together before the bowling starts?
We do have some routines. We know before we bowl, we kind of tune up with the Bowler's Journal side events. Okay. We actually have been using the practice lanes, practice sessions. So we've signed up for those for a few years before that. So as we all get in there, we just loosen up different ways, kind of using the side tournament and the practice sessions are our main things. We do have our gatherings where we usually gather for dinner and go to certain places. Depends on where the location is. You know, we have some favorites in some other places where we go, oh yeah, let's go here. We go here all the time, and that's what we do. And then after we bowl, we always say, okay, we're going to do our group dinner and things like that. But that year was a little different, because there were I had a few distractions there. Probably was the first year that both my wife and daughter had attended any of the events since I've been bowling it.
Okay. Now, this was only 3 years ago, so the lane maintenance protocols were the same then as they were last year and as they will be this year in Reno. 2 different oil patterns, fresh every squad. You guys bowled team event. Team event didn't go great, but going into the next day that you've got a different oil pattern you're going to be competing on. You said you guys bowled the Bowler's Journal, so you kind of had an idea of what it might be like, although it does play different from the bowling center than it does at the plaza.
Correct.
So how did you guys strategically regroup after a disappointing team event, getting ready for the next day on that second pattern?
Yeah, that was different. I think we all handled it kind of differently. After we had probably one of our not our best showings, of course, as you mentioned, and a lot of us kind of scattered a little bit to just clear our minds. Did some gambling, see some shows, and just kind of just chill out a little bit, and not to say get it off our mind, but just try to restart for the next day. And I guess we all handle it a little differently. I was pretty dejected, I think, after some of that bowling, but I had to figure out how to come back the next day.
Now, the good thing is about an event like this is that while you are limited on how much equipment you can bring based on where you're traveling from, how you're getting there, the 2 oil patterns aren't very different from one another. So you don't need, polished bowling balls on one pattern and scuffed bowling balls on another, and that are completely different types of balls. You can use kind of the same equipment on each pattern. So when you get to singles and doubles, it's slightly different, a little bit longer. The volume's a little different than what team event was last year. What clicked in doubles? What was it about that oil pattern that that you guys matched up on so well?
I think what happened was, at least for me, what I did, I just stopped trying so hard and I just collected my thoughts. And what I decided to do, since I had a rough first day, I decided to go with a ball that I just was a little more comfortable with. It may not have been the right one for the pattern or not, but I decided to, well, let me, I usually had that strategy of what I want to try. And I started with this ball, and I said, well, I'm really comfortable with this one. I'm going to start with that to at least take a lot of other factors out of the equation. So if I'm having any type of, grip issues or whatever, I said, this one feels good, and I can at least focus on, hitting my target and just bowling.
Now, as you all bowl 3 games, the oil's moving around on the lane. It's getting picked up by the ball. It's getting carried down to the back ends. The pattern is transitioning. You and Bob, did you all work with each other and talk a lot about moves or transitions and try and help one another?
We do sometimes. We don't communicate as much as we could, like a lot of teams do, because a lot of our styles are a little different. But we do focus on, certain areas of the lane that we play, and we're always watching each other, and we do every now and then make some suggestions and say, hey, well, maybe you want to play over there or try that, where you kind of play off each other, and that's kind of how, that's just kind of how we do. We just kind of you just roll with what's there.
Now, with this being the first year of the standard division, we really weren't sure how the scores were going to play out, what kind of scoring range the lead would take to win. When you found out that you guys were the leaders after you got done, what were your first initial thoughts on that? Were you excited? Were you surprised? Were you shocked? What were you thinking?
It was very interesting when of course, after doubles, you bowl singles. So in the middle of this, when we were bowling singles, Bob came to me, and he kind of like, I'm pretty focused when I'm bowling, but I get I have a good time and I'm talking to people, but I kind of block a lot of things out. So Bob said to me, he says, "Oh, after we're finished bowling," he says, they want to talk to us over there, and it didn't click what he was talking about. So and I think he caught me kind of like it was my turn to bowl. So I get there and I bowl, and then a couple frames later, he says, "Remember, we need to go talk to this gentleman over here after bowling." And so finally, I was like, "What are we talking to him about?" And he says, "Oh, we're leading." I go, "We're leading?" And being the first year of standard, we didn't know anything about numbers.
Right.
I go, "But we only shot this." It's like, "We're leading?" And that just kind of would just change a lot of things, just made me speechless a little bit. I said, "I think he's serious," because I thought he was just just kidding around in the beginning. And then they said, "Oh, okay." And then afterwards, we met up with one of your colleagues, Brian, and he interviewed us about being in the lead. And I really didn't believe it till he started talking to us, and it really happened. And my wife was going crazy back there, and my daughter, they're all waiting, and our teammates and other companion team, they're like, "Do we hang around? Do we leave?" And it was a very shocking moment, to tell you what. I wasn't even thinking about it at all.
Now, you said you found out midway through singles, give or take?
Yeah.
So once Dwayne told you that, how difficult did it make the rest of that single set?
I was thinking, well, it didn't change it a whole lot, because I said, well, it's May. They bowled in July. We didn't shoot tremendous scores, and I said, well, we'll see what it's all about afterwards, because I didn't have the board, or didn't have the numbers in my head of what's nearby. So when we found out, and plus there were a lot of distractions too, that did help singles a little bit, because we were also bowling at the time when you guys had another 100,000 pin recipient, and so it stopped all bowling. So it took all the pressure, attention away. So I didn't even think about it again. and just kept on bowling. I was like, I don't know what this meeting afterwards with this guy Brian's all about. Yeah.
So, Stuart, I knew you'd be the right guy for this conversation to come on and speak about not only the tournament, but the standard division and being a champion there. It's very clear how much the event means to you. You and Robert both combining for more than 60 years on the tournament lanes. And then to be able to see all these goals and hopes come true and get to lead, and then to hear what a surprise it was, and just to see and hear the appreciation in your voice and in the story. And then, of course, going through this journey with you from taking the lead now to talking about it almost 3 years later. But the fact also that was your daughter, Adriana, was her very first time competing in the Open Championships. So she got to be there and experience it again. As we talked with Dwayne, there's no better way to make a second timer than to have such a memorable first time. And she got to be there and experience this. You got to do it as a family, taking the lead in the interview, and it's all part of it. And after 20 plus years, I imagine it already was incredibly special, but to be able to have her there, to see that, and then we'll talk about next year, but to have her there and see that happen and unfold, how cool was that?
It was more than cool. It was an experience that you can't even reproduce. I say, having her there and my wife, that's what helped also in the distraction, I guess, of not thinking about the doubles, because she was subbing on the other side. So I kept leaving my side to walk over to check on her to see how she's doing, because and so it was going back and forth. So I had that distraction. I had the 100,000 pin bowler, that distraction, and my wife was in the stand. I had all these things. So it was a lot going on, and knowing, like I say, that's her first year. I wanted her to be comfortable. I wasn't even thinking about myself at the time because she wasn't bowling with our companion team. She was just subbing with another team that just picked her up. And so I wanted to make sure she got comfortable. I know she's very comfortable in bowling. She's very experienced. I work with her a lot. Her and I are kind of just click. And so having her there with everybody, and everybody knows her too. My teammates, it was very special.
Now, in my own career at the Open Championships, typically I would post my score, and then I wouldn't be checking the leaderboards. It'd be more looking at the loaded cash number to see if I was going to hang on for a couple bucks. But here you guys are, brand new division, 1236 was your doubles total. Again, in the decades previously, that would have been a cashing number for sure. You'd be taking home some prize money, but here you are in the lead, and now you get to enjoy the experience of watching those leaderboards and keeping an eye on things, as you said, from the middle of May all the way until July. So you had half the tournament to go to wait and see. Again, there's no history of this division to know really how good that number was, but there you are in the lead. Tell us about the wait and the months that followed until you got notification that it was, in fact, the real deal for you and Mr. Tonelli.
Well, I'm like you. Normally every year you look at the load of cash number. And then when this happened, so we were very excited. I kind of looked at the board a little bit and I said, that number's going to get beat. But when it kept hanging around a little longer, then I started looking a little more. Well, plus my teammates were doing the looking for me, and they'd send me a text or an email and say, hey, you know what, this and this and this. So it got me a little more interested, because I had no idea that score would hold that long.
Right now, there's really a few more twists in this story as well. You knew at that point, I believe, that no matter what happened, no matter how this turned out, Robert was going to be taking off the 2018 event, right? He would not be joining you guys on the lanes in Syracuse, defending champions or not. So he stayed in Las Vegas and did his thing, and you headed back to the East Coast to wait it out. Of course, then you were able to hold on and win. There was the Eagle presentation, which was, I know, a very proud moment for you. Some great pictures we got from that as well. But knowing that now that you guys, in fact, were the champions at the OC, and you would not be able to take the lanes together once again after 22 years together. Tell us about that and how that transpired. And did you try to talk him into joining you out there to at least put that title on the line?
Yeah, we tried to, and it didn't, it didn't change his mind. It was going to be different. I'm not sure disappointing is the right word or not, but it was disappointing because I've always bowled with him there. I guess what helped, I convinced my teammates to allow Adriana to bowl with me.
Right.
And so that, that softened it to bring her in. She could bowl with people she knows. I wish Bob and I could have gone out together to receive our watches at the same time. It would have been really special. And that was a surprise, because I didn't know that, because I knew a fair amount of people in the squad room, and they started, congratulating me and say, hey, such and such wants to talk to you. This person wants to talk to you. And I go, and you started meeting all these people, are like, wow. It's like we met new people, as you see in the chat. There's a lot of people that are just saying hello. We made some new friends just because I guess I'm not a first timer, and it's amazing how many people actually realize who you are or see you.
Well, we definitely like to keep the surprises coming. And of course, being a champion at the Open Championships, that is a huge deal. A history going back to 1901. You are a part of it. Your name forever will be in the record book. And in that venue there in Syracuse, of course, your name was on one of those championship banners. You got the watch right there. And then you got to bowl with your daughter. I know it wasn't your co-champion, but as you said, it couldn't have been a more special replacement for you. And here she is in her second year now at the OC. And you guys get to take the lanes together. And I imagine that's a pretty close second, or maybe almost a tie for first as far as memorable OC experiences for you.
Yeah, it's a pretty close second. We had some memorable experiences too, because when Fran came to talk to us and interview us, I wasn't expecting that, and that you guys did another story on us, and that was memorable.
You have that eagle right there next to your left shoulder.
Yes, I did.
What does it mean? How awesome is that to walk in and see that every single day of your life?
It's unbelievable. Like I tell people, it's hard to, it's speechless about it. It's an amazing to have and know how hard it is to earn it. And I never would have expected this. Lisa, you can't plan it.
Well, you're definitely a great champion and a great spokesperson for the event. You also have another big milestone coming up in 2020. It would be your 25th Open Championships. Of course, things are a little bit crazy right now. The event pushed back now. September 12th will be the start date, and we'll go until almost Thanksgiving at the end of November there. Have you guys been able to figure out how the group's going to get to go, and are we going to see you in Reno for number 25?
Yes, we did have to forego this year, and we are gonna regroup for Reno and make it all happen again.
All right, now your years were consecutive, I believe, as well, and I know that's pretty special for some folks. Is any chance of making a trip, maybe you and Adriana coming out to Reno to get on the subboard or put together a team just to keep that streak intact?
Well, we hadn't thought about that. I know we keep the consecutive if we miss, but it's not the same. It's a different type of consecutive. But because of COVID. But no, we're just be next year will be when we go out.
Okay.
And the way things are going, there's been a lot of changes in the current year, so we're playing it safe.
Totally understandable. Now, as you guys get ready for 2021, which really isn't that far away anyway, and she gets ready to continue her Open Championships career, what advice do you have for her or for the next crop of first timers or newcomers or anybody that you invite along? What advice would you have for just being diligent, putting in the work, and not only appreciating the experience, but taking advantage of it? And then you never know what could happen on lanes, of course.
That's true. You have to be prepared to go out there and see something different. It's not going to be what you're used to seeing, and she's aware of that now because as you've seen with some of the people that called in, like Daryl, who's bowled nationals, had the 2 300s in the Open Championships, and he bowled in our sport league together. And I bowled with her there, and we learned a lot bowling in that league. And that league really helped us, I think, a little bit more for bowling in the tournament. And so, doing it for a long time, yeah, we kind of know a little bit what to expect, but a lot of newcomers, you got to come out, give it a chance, expect something different, and expect it to be challenging, very challenging.
All right, now with 2021 just a few months away, and you've recently relocated to North Carolina since winning your title. What has life been like for you, just in general, and bowling wise? Have you had a chance to bowl at all, or what are the plans?
Yeah, well, it was different because I didn't join any leagues because I knew I was going to be moving in the middle of the season, and I didn't want to quit on anybody the season. So I didn't join any leagues, and so I had to restart pretty much. I had to learn what bowling alleys are down here. I had to meet new friends and meet new people and bowlers, and I got here, and I finally did find some places that I could call home, maybe, or I met some people in some places I could bowl, and I was actually getting going, subbing a lot, practicing a lot, and then COVID hit and kind of, put a little flat tire there.
Okay, now, as far as family time, father-daughter time, where's Adriana these days, and do you guys get to spend much time on the lanes together, practicing or getting ready, especially with tournament season, what would have been tournament season?
She's still in Maryland, so we don't see each other as often now. So we have to kind of communicate electronically, and then we make visits up there, and she makes visits down here. So she's kind of like now on her own with her friends, and I'm on my own down here, bowling wise.
All right, now as we get back to normal life, is there anything in particular that you're really just looking forward to doing and experiencing? Of course, besides looking at that eagle.
Just taking it one day at a time. Looking forward to retirement one day.
All right.
And get back on the lanes.
That's awesome. And hopefully that happens soon for all of us. I know Mr. Ferris has been tossing the ball a few times this week already. And I'm sure that will continue to grow, and we'll be headed back to work very soon as well. Mr. Ferris, before we head out, any final thoughts or questions for Stuart about life or the OC or winning a title?
No, I like talking to guys like Stuart who have accomplished something like this for the first time in their careers so late in their OC career. And I say so late, I mean, you didn't do it in the first 5 or 10 years. A lot of people these days, they want results now. They expect greatness now, and they don't want to put in the time or work or effort or the blood, sweat, and tears and dedication like you have to the sport and to going to the OC, which will be 25 years in a row once you make it to Las Vegas next year. So to win this title in your 22nd year just goes to show, it goes back to what we talked about with John Janowitz, that if you don't have success your first, second, or third year out, don't quit. Don't just say, oh, well, I didn't do anything great, so I'm going to quit. Keep going, because you never know when you're going to find, like I said for Dwayne, that lightning in a bottle. You never know when you and your doubles partner of 22 years are going to match up at the same time when you haven't matched up together for the previous 21, and boom, you've got an eagle sitting on your desk behind your shoulder.
Right.
So just keep fighting, keep going, keep coming out to the OC. Always try and get better, try and learn, and never give up, never surrender.
You could have said it better.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you both for the insight, of course. And Stuart, thank you for speaking so eloquently about the Open Championships and what it means, and really summarizing what we already think and feel. But most people, they don't believe us. But when we hear from the real guys, it sounds so much better. So thank you for that, and for being, of course, a part of our history and tradition and keeping in touch after that amazing Eagle winning performance. We want to thank all of the folks at home. Looks like Stuart has a lot of fans in the chat. That is terrific. We appreciate everybody tuning in for today's show. Again, we took a little bit of a turn and looked back at some of our classified and standard division champions, which is pretty special as well. Always love talking to these guys and recapping those great moments. And we'll have more shows coming up in the coming weeks. Next Thursday, Brian O'Keefe, Junior Team USA head coach, joins the Inside the OC podcast. And, of course, as always, regular programming here on Bowl TV. We've got the PWBA podcast on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the Sport of Bowling show every Friday and some great Bowl TV only content with Daniel Ferris, Emil Williams Jr., and Curtis Von Kruger on Bowl TV as well. So check those out. Very cool stuff coming your way as we get into the summer months here. And as always, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, remember to drop those in the chat, and you can join us during any show and ask questions directly to our guests or something for us to answer later. But we do appreciate everybody tuning in. Daniel has one final thought.
Yeah, just a quick shout out for those of you that would love some more Bowl TV content, Bowl TV only content coming up this afternoon at 4 o'clock. This week's Throwback Thursday match, hosted by Emil Williams Jr., features a historic championship between Carolyn Doran-Ballard, who is going for her 7th title of the season, against Michelle Feldman at the 2001 Brunswick Women's World Open. So check that out, 4 o'clock Eastern, right here on Bowl TV only.
There you go. All the specifics from Mr. Ferris, and you can check it out again on Bowl TV. The schedule is there as well. But that is going to do it for today's edition of Inside the OC. My name is Matt Cannizzaro for Daniel Ferris, Stuart Sheck, and Dwayne Brossett. Thanks for tuning in, folks. That's the news for now, and we'll see you on the lanes.